This is our cellular respiration project by Bodhi, Cockerham, Ethan Price, Elliot, Purvis, and RJ Marcin. So here we have Gilbert the Brontosaurus as he's eating a pizza, and the pizza gets turned into glucose.
The question is, how is glucose broken down? And how much ATP is created? It all starts in the cytoplasm. That's where it all happens. Glycolysis starts with 6 carbons, and 2 phosphates are added, causing 2 ATPs, which split it up into 2 3-carbon atoms, pyruvate. Then NAD plus takes an electron and a proton and turns into NADH. The 2 pyruvates then go to the mitochondrial matrix, where it goes through active transport by the active protein. Then 1 CO2 falls off because the NAD plus turns into NADH, taking an electron, and the coenzyme A combines with the pyruvate to make acetal B.
Next we have the Krebs cycle, or citric acid cycle. Here acetyl-CoA combines with oxaloacetate to create citric acid. Then, from this citric acid, NADH and carbon dioxide are created, twice, until we have a 4-carbon. Then, ATP is made, and then FADH is turned into FADH2. Then another NADH is made. From here, we get another oxaloacetate, which is used to make the cycle go round again. All this happens in the mitochondrial matrix, and the electron carriers and ATP are used in the ETC.
After the Krebs cycle, we go to the ETC, or the electron transporter chain. It's made of the proteins and phosphates, including the major protein, the ATP synthase. This creates ATP, which is later used as energy for the body. Without it, the body would not survive. At the start of this process, we see NADH turn into a proton, an electron, and NAD+. NAD+ then goes back to the Krebs cycle. The created electron goes through each protein, including cytosol C, and turns into 2 electrons and water. The proton goes through a protein into the inner membrane space, where it is then used by the ATP synthase. Then FADH comes along and turns into a proton and electron, as well as FAD+. FAD+ goes back to the Krebs cycle. The electron goes through and goes into 2 electrons and water, and then there's actually an equation. The equation is 2 protons plus 2 charged electrons plus oxygen equals H2O. This happens twice. As we see the electron go through, we also see the proton go into the inner membrane space, where it is then used by the ATP synthase. The ATP synthase converts it into ATP and a proton, but why does this happen? Let's take a closer look. ADP plus phosphate plus proton equals ATP and proton.
That was the way it could have gone in an aerobic reaction with air, but there's another way. Now the second way it could have gone is an anaerobic reaction called fermentation. The first kind of fermentation is where the glucose undergoes glycolysis, and this happens so that it can still make ATP, because you need oxygen to do ETC, and this is the only way it can still make ATP. So the pyruvate, it comes back around after glycolysis, the NADH drops off its electrons, and then it turns into lactate. This is called lactic acid fermentation, and it happens in all things that produce ATP. Now, the second kind of fermentation happens when the pyruvate drops off 2 carbons and turns into acetaldehyde, which then gets the electrons dropped off back to it and becomes ethanol. This is called alcoholic fermentation, and it happens in yeast and some bacteria solely. That's our project. We went through all the steps: glycolysis, Krebs cycle, phosphatidated phosphorylation, and fermentation. Thank you.
Thank you.